So there is this very interesting book by a person called as Peter Robinson. The book is called as Snapshots from Hell. This is a book about the life of Stanford MBA students, and Peter Robinson was one of the students at Stanford. He said something very, very interesting on this book. So one of the professors actually confessed that, hey, if students at Stanford just go on golf course, they don't even come to MBA programs, they just go on golf course and hit just golf balls all day for 2 years and graduate out of Stanford, they would still end up getting wonderful jobs and recruiters will still pay them top dollars. Now this is a very, very big revelation in the sense that many a times we assume that, hey, when you're going to a university, you have to spend insane amount of energy in terms of studying, in terms of doing your homework, assignments, whatnot. But MBA is a prestige game. So on this video, I'm going to speak about 5 specific points that you will learn at top tier MBA programs like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, INSEAD, London Business School. So let's get this video started. So the first key thing that you will learn at any top business school is that you will pick up core business skills. Now this is aligned with any other business school that you would go to. You would be taught core business skills. So what are core business skills? So these are skills around finance, marketing, strategy, operations. So you would have ton of subjects and you will learn a bunch of things. Now you might say that, hey Akshat, what is so special about Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, INSEAD? What is it that they teach in terms of your core skills that makes them so different? So 2 things there. So one is that you learn these skills from really top-notch professors. For example, if you are a student at Chicago Booth, you might take classes from Dr. Raghuram Rajan. If you are at INSEAD, you might get an opportunity to interact with Professor Chan Kim, who is the father of Blue Ocean Strategy, which is one of the defining strategy concepts of the 21st century. Similarly, at Yale, you might study from Professor Dr. Robert Schiller. So bunch of good professors, that's the first key winning point which goes in favor of top tier business schools, that's one. And the second differentiating factor is the pedagogy, the way in which the classes are actually conducted. For example, at Harvard Business School, there is something called as Harvard Business School case style of teaching. So under this style of teaching, what ends up happening is that it's not as if that the professor will stand in the class and you just come and attend and take notes of the lectures that the professor is giving. No, it doesn't happen that way. What happens is that Harvard Business School professors give you something called as a case. So this is a 10 to 20 pager case study on a certain topic that will be taught the next day in the class. You will be given this case study. You as a student at Harvard Business School will have to independently study this case, do your own background research, discuss it with your groups, then come to the class prepared. For example, if you are being taught a case on India's EdTech sector, then you will have to do your background research and background work on that case study. Come prepared with that case study in the class. Then in the class, the professor will facilitate the discussion. So you will stand up, you will discuss your thought process about that case with your peers. Your peers or classmates will do the same and professor will simply facilitate that discussion. He or she will modulate the conversation, take out important points, teach you some concepts around it. So this is called as case style of teaching. Is it only Harvard that does it? No. So there are a bunch of other business schools that do the same. But the important point to note is that the pedagogy or the way things are taught at top business schools, those are much more practical and intuitive. Now, interestingly, if I have to put a number that how much does your classroom experience make up for your entire MBA experience, I would say less than 20%. Actually, there are more things going on outside the class than inside it, from a learning point of view. Which brings me to the second point that you learn at a business school, which is that you pick up practical learning skills. For example, the concepts that you learn in the class, you can actually go and implement it in the real world. For example, during my time at INSEAD, I took a private equity class. So of course, the concepts were taught by the professor, bunch of different instructions were given, I did my homework, I did my assignments, I did my group study projects. But the wonderful part was that we actually got to work with the professor, and that professor actually bought a company from Singapore which was doing and engaging on a private equity deal, and we became a part of that project work assignment. So we actually supported that particular company in terms of executing that deal. So which was a practical learning experience, and these type of practical learning experience can take multiple forms. For example, at Harvard Business School, professors usually invite CEOs of different companies who will join in on a class, discuss that case. Same goes for INSEAD also, that many a times we had CEOs of Fortune 500 companies who sat with us in person or via video conferencing, and they gave us viewpoint about how they were thinking in terms of making certain business decisions that they had to make. The primary advantage of these practical exercises is that you end up absorbing a lot more content in a practical format that becomes an ingrained part of your thought process, and you are able to better apply these concepts in the real world. Now, in addition to these experiential learning programs, there is something called as study treks. For example, almost every major business school in the US and Europe and even in India, they take you to different companies so that you can go and visit these companies, get more practical sense. There are study tours. For example, there are certain study tours that were done at INSEAD to countries in the Middle East, Europe, even US. A bunch of my classmates ended up going to Silicon Valley to understand more about tech. So all these practical learning experiences are there. Fun question. So do you think that business schools actually charge money for these ELPs, or these are done for free? So do give your answer in the comment section. I will definitely like to read your comments on this. Now, the third key thing that you will learn at top business schools is that you will learn something called as networking. Now, networking is really the king. It is absolute essential in this day and age if you want to grow in your career. By the way, on a side note, I have actually created a free mini course on networking on my YouTube channel. I will link it in the description box. Do go and check it out. It's a mini course. It will help you learn a lot of techniques and concepts around networking. Please watch it. It can prove to be a game changer for your career. Building more on this point, that when you go to a top tier business school in the US or Europe, what ends up happening is that in order to get internships or jobs, you need to network. There is just no other way to get internships and jobs besides networking. There is hardly ever a concept around on-campus placements the way it happens in India. So in India, what happens is that if you are seeking internships or jobs, companies will come on campus. They will open some kind of an open recruitment day. You just go, show your resume, do the interviews, and you're done. But if you have to win jobs in Europe or US or Canada or any other location abroad, what ends up happening is that the culture is such that people prefer to network. That if you're looking for an internship, then you have to go schedule coffee chats. You have to write to them. You have to schedule meetings with them. You have to show up for the interviews. So bunch of different points go into this networking. So everything is not being spoon-fed to you. Now you might say that, hey Akshat, why is it that business schools are charging $200,000 if we ourselves have to go and get internships and jobs and whatnot? The reason is very simple. The business schools actually give you visibility. The objective of the business school is to put its students in front of the recruiters and give them opportunities. Let me explain this. For example, when I was at INSEAD, we used to have these networking nights and networking events almost every single week. So every single week there was some company that was coming on campus. Now, it's not as if that this is an open recruitment day. You just go and show your resume and get a job. No, you actually have to turn up for that event. You have to go speak with the speaker who is showing up on these events. For example, if there is an event by McKinsey and McKinsey consultants are there, then it is your responsibility as a student to go to that networking event, make introductions, exchange notes, exchange cards, further develop and cultivate that relationships. Could you do this if you are outside INSEAD? You might, but there are a few challenges. One is that you might not have these proper networking closed group events, right? It's not easy to get hold of 10 McKinsey consultants in one room, so to say. That's one challenge. Second is when external audiences, these recruiters are actually coming on campus, even for networking, they are going in with a certain intent and mindset. They understand that, you know what, we are going to INSEAD or we are going to Wharton or we are going to Stanford. So they are already positively oriented in the sense that they know that they would get to speak with highly refined candidates because they have been pre-selected by INSEAD, so to say. So that is the value of the brand, according to me, in a very practical manner. Now, just a very quick note in terms of networking, there are different clubs that are there at top business schools. So for example, there is consulting club, finance club, marketing club, luxury goods club. I was the vice president of INSEAD's consulting club, and consulting is the biggest industry at INSEAD in terms of number of recruitments. Around 55% of the class ends up going to McKinsey, BCG or Bain. So consulting is a big thing. Now, the primary advantage at these top business schools, if you take up a leadership position at these clubs, is that it gives you access to a lot of recruiters because majority of these clubs are student-run clubs. For example, when we used to invite BCG, Bain, McKinsey or any other major consulting company as a VP of consulting club, I used to play an active role in terms of organizing this event. So that gave me a lot of face time with the recruiters. So does that happen at lower rung business schools also? It does. but the level of student participation in these clubs actually go down as you move down the rankings of the school, generally speaking. So if you fundamentally learn networking at a business school, this is a skill that will serve you really, really well going ahead in your career, be it in terms of switching to another job, be it switching to another geography, be it looking to build your own specialized business. So this networking really helps, and top business schools do provide you with a good ecosystem to develop your networking skills. Now the fourth skill that you will pick at a top business school is something called as developing a global mindset. Now the level of global exposure that you will get at any top business school is unparalleled. For example, when I was studying at INSEAD, there were people from almost 70 nationalities in my class. Now that is a great learning opportunities to learn about different cultures, customs, work environment, etc. Now you might say that, hey Akshat, how is that useful? Let me explain. Now, one of my interviews actually happened with a Portuguese person. So I have a very close friend from INSEAD, from Portugal. His name is Luis. So big shout out to Luis because I know he watches my videos. So basically I learned a lot about the Portuguese customs and cultures and traditions from Luis. Now, during this interview, I realized that Portuguese people usually take a little bit of time settling in. So it's not good to be just business oriented. When you are engaging in an interview setting, you still need to build a little bit of relationship. And the person who was interviewing me took that time to build that, right? So I was affable. I was more friendly. I was smiling a little bit more. So that understanding helped me make good inroads in terms of acing this interview. Now, this global understanding can prove to be a game changer when you progress in your career. Let me give you another example. For example, last year, I invested in a company called as Cases Over Coffee. Now it has become the biggest management consulting preparation platform. Now as a part of it, we launched a global fellowship program. Now this global fellowship program is based on the concept that, hey, students in India would benefit immensely if they get to participate on real world global projects with global companies outside India. And that is the intent with which we designed this program. Now, in order to design this program, there were so many complexities because we had to get like international business school professors. We had to get international mentors from different parts of the world. We had to engage with global students from across the global community. So that entire global concept was very difficult to execute for us. We were able to do it because we had that global understanding. Whenever we used to get on a phone call with people from different nationalities, we understood what type of work culture, work environment, conversations they preferred. So accordingly, we could curate that and make this program a resounding success. In fact, it is so successful now that till December of this year, we are completely booked on this program. Now, fifth and final point that you will pick up at a top tier business school is called as continuous engagement or continuous learning. Let me give you another example. So right now, INSEAD has launched a program called as INSEAD Launchpad. Now, as a part of that INSEAD Launchpad, if you are an INSEAD alum, then you can go to this Launchpad. Now, this Launchpad is based in France. So, as an INSEAD alum, you can go and stay at this Launchpad for close to 6 months at a very nominal cost. So, it costs somewhere around 22,000 rupees. But on this Launchpad, you will get to meet a lot of previous INSEAD alums. Interact with them, learn from them, learn about their startups. So that becomes a great learning opportunity for INSEAD alums. Now, unfortunately, this is only reserved for alums. Similarly, bunch of other different business schools create these closed ecosystems that are only reserved for alumni of their schools. Now, in my own personal experience, top tier business schools focus a lot. They focus a lot in terms of developing these type of alumni relationships. At INSEAD, I also got a chance to work with the Dean of INSEAD on one such project, and we were working as a part of our assignment. I could sense and I could see how dedicated the leadership of INSEAD was on building these alumni communities. Now, every top business school is doing this because they understand that alumni are the ones who are going to create positive word of mouth for the school and help the school stay on top or reach new heights. So, in summary, investing in a top tier MBA program is fruitful not because of the fact that you end up learning concepts around finance or investment banking or management consulting. It is useful because it actually teaches you life skills and gives you a network that can serve you really, really well for the rest of your life. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you would want me to continue shooting these type of videos. It would indicate to me that you appreciate this type of content, and I will see you on the next video.